Okay. Hi, Emily,
Hi,
right?
yes.
Well, I'm glad you're here today. How's your day been so far?
It's been pretty good. How about yours?
It has been well, long but good.
Fair
So
enough.
my name is Samantha. Feel free to call me Sam. My role here today as your counselor is to connect with you for about 10 minutes to try to better understand what has brought you in. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. So just first and foremost, just a reminder, unless you express any intent to harm yourself or someone else, what we discuss in this session will stay in this session. Um, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, gotcha.
So tell me a little bit about what brought you in here today.
Yeah, so I recently started up classes again for my master's program. But along with that, I work a full-time job. I have a lot of medical appointments because I have a lot of medical concerns. So with all of those three things, I'm having a hard time juggling it all because there's be a good student, be a good employee, be a good advocate for yourself medically, and then there's also the be a good daughter, be a good girlfriend, and like all of these other things that I feel like I have to live up to, but I don't even have the ability to manage the time that I have.
Wow. So you have a lot going on, it sounds like.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right. So tell me, what have you tried previously to cope with all of this that's going on?
Um, so I tried therapy for a little bit, but my therapist wasn't really providing what I needed, unfortunately.
Mhm.
There was like a gap in between what I was saying and what she was understanding, unfortunately. So that didn't work too well, but I don't think it was the therapy part. I think it was the therapist and the lack of understanding what I was going through, if that makes sense. I've tried like hourly calendars, and I love
Okay.
the idea of those working. However, I'm not really good at the implementation of them working, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Okay.
Like it
Oh,
sounds like such a cute Pinteresty idea, and then it's not in reality.
I was gonna say, so in reality, it's not a good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it seems like you have definitely have a lot going on, but you did have ways to cope with it. How was therapy for you? Was it something that worked for you other than, the miscommunication with your therapist?
So I think that was a large issue because when there was that large miscommunication, um, it was almost like we were arguing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "Well, you should do this," and then I'd be like, "Well, that doesn't really work for me because of blah 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 blah," and they'd be like, "Okay, well, if you don't want to do that, then I don't know what to tell you." Like I felt like they didn't have my best interest in mind. So I wouldn't say therapy doesn't work, but I also wouldn't say I have had a positive experience.
Okay. Well,
But
that's
I'm very
that's too bad.
open-minded. Yeah, very open-minded to it.
Great. Okay. So earlier you mentioned that you were struggling with, do you be the perfect student, the perfect daughter, the perfect girlfriend? Uh
Mm.
Out of all of that, which one weighs more heavily on your mind, would you say?
Probably the perfect medical advocate for myself.
Perfect medical advocate. Okay, so it sounds like you have a lot of um medical concerns.
Yeah, so I've had 3 open heart surgeries as a child, and back in September, I was told that I'm gonna need a 4th open heart surgery within the next 2 years. So, in the past 2 weeks, I've gotten 2 different medical procedures, a cardiac catheterization, and a liver biopsy so that they can better see how my heart is doing. But the previous procedure may be failing, so they're anticipating I will need a 4th open heart surgery within the next year and a half.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you have a lot going on.
Yeah, to say the least.
You are, I mean, you are very strong, obviously, and an advocate for yourself, which is good. So how have you been dealing with that information and, all of that was thrown at you, especially just recently?
Yeah, so it was definitely a shock to the system because we didn't think I'd need this surgery for another 20 years. And then they were like,
Okay.
surprise. And I was like, that's a joke. Nice try. But then we got down to more of like the nitty gritty. And next week, no, actually, tomorrow I have the appointment that's going to tell me more about whether or not I need the surgery soon or if they can hold off, because the preliminary results of everything came back really positive, but those aren't the only results that matter. Because they also have to take into account for how I'm physically feeling, and then my exercise tests and all these other obnoxious medical tests that I have to do. But I feel like I dealt with it pretty well. I just leaned on my boyfriend a lot and my family. I'm really close with my parents and my 3 little siblings. So I hung out at their house. I think I went to dinner with them every other night for like 3 weeks straight.
That's awesome. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you do have a good support system. Parents,
I
boyfriend.
have an amazing support system. I have 2 very supportive parents. They're kind of like my best friends. And then I have 3 little siblings who are 11, 9, and 8 years old. The 8-year-old thought I was her mother for a while. And they're all just so sweet and cute, except for when they're not.
Yeah. Okay. I hear that. Okay. Wow. So you have like we mentioned before, you definitely have a lot going on. And even more so now within the last week or so, with the medical information that you received. So is it safe to say that's why you, are seeking counseling?
It's definitely one of the reasons. I've always struggled with time management, but having this on my mind, it kind of takes over for a second. It's like I'll be ruminating on the thoughts of what happens if they tell me that I need open heart surgery in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. If I needed open heart surgery in 2 weeks, I would know, because I'd probably be collapsed on the floor. In full transparency. But like things like that, like, okay, well, what happens if this? It's all the ifs.
Yeah,
Really
the what
love the
ifs.
ifs. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're very anxiety triggering, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even imagine. So that was a lot to unpack. But just to recap, so you do have a stressful job, full-time job?
Yeah, so I am a substance abuse counselor full-time. I love the work I do, but it can be stressful because sometimes I'll be running a group and I'll realize that one of the clients is fully intoxicated, and you just kind of gotta run with it and make it work.
Wow, so on top of everything else, you have the stress of your job as well.
But my job provides me with joy because I get to help people, and it is a very fulfilling job. It can be
Mhm.
stressful, but my management is also very good on you do not work overtime. If you're working overtime, then we need to look at your caseload and divvy up.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we unpacked a lot today. I learned a lot about you. We definitely could meet next week as well, to
Okay.
go through some more
Mhm.
talking and, get through it. So does that sound good? Meeting next
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds pretty
I
good.
know you have a lot of medical things coming up, so
Yeah.
we
I mean, I only have one appointment, but we'll see what comes after that.
okay, so we can touch base next week
Okay.
to schedule an appointment. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me via email or by the work phone.
Gotcha. Perfect.
All right, great. So thanks for taking the time to talk with me today, and we'll see you next week.
Perfect. Thank you.